Welcome to our today's lesson. My name is Jacob Kitoto from School of Hospitality, Travel and Tourism, Department of Hospitality Management. Our unit is called Meal Management, Planning and Service. The unit code is CHT1314. Our topic, we have two lessons. Our first lesson is Introduction to Meal Planning. So, first, we would like to know the term or the meaning of meal planning. What is meal planning? Meal planning basically means making of a plan of a meal with adequate nutrition for every member of the family within the available resources. Now, what do we mean by the term available resources? This term simply means whatever the family has in terms of time, energy, and even money. That tells you that when you are preparing or planning a meal, you must put those three resources in place. That is money, time, and even energy. Now, why is meal planning important? Meal planning is important because, one, meal planning helps us to meet the nutritional requirements of the family members. In the family, you might find that families have various age groups, and each group, they need different nutrition requirements. So if you plan a meal, you will know how the group that needs a lot of carbohydrates, those need a lot of proteins, and those need other nutrients. So you are able now to be able to plan for them according to the requirement of the nutrients. Two, it also helps decide what to eat each day in each meal. In a meal we have, in a day we have 3 meals. We have breakfast, we have lunch, we have dinner. So each day you will now know, if you have a plan, a good plan, you will now know what you have to prepare for breakfast. Having prepared for breakfast, now you will be able again to know what to prepare for lunch, because what you have prepared for breakfast, you might not be able to repeat it during lunch at the same time, repeat it during dinner time. Also, meal planning also helps us to make the food economical. Economical in such a way that because you will have to plan the meal in terms of the available money. So if you plan a meal well, you will not be overusing the food items that are there. That is why we say that the planning makes you to help you to make the food economical. Also, it caters to the food preferences of individual member. Remember, when you plan a meal, each member will now be able to know, you will now be able to know what your members likes and dislikes. So you will always be able to know this group do not prefer this kind of meal. So you are able to come up with the meal that they like. Again, it also saves time, energy, and even money. A meal plan will always help the planners to save time, because once you say you plan the meal, you know how long will this meal take to be prepared. So once you know and the kind of ingredients that the meal is going to have, so you will be able to collect them and arrange them at a given time. When a given time reaches for preparation, then you will be able to prepare them without wasting a lot of time and wasting a lot of energy. And at the same time, you will now be able to buy meals as per the requirement, which will result in the saving of money. Lastly, meal planning also helps us to use the leftovers. Leftovers are the meals that are taken and then they are not completely consumed. For example, if you are preparing chips and the potatoes that you are using are not over, you can preserve these potatoes and use them for another meal. For instance, those who are preparing maybe githeri, you can use potatoes, the leftover potatoes, to mix them with the githeri so that they can be consumed together, or with or a stew. You can mix them with a beef stew and then they are consumed. So you shall have used leftover food. So in that way, you will be able to minimize the wastage of food. Factors affecting meal planning. It is important that we also know the factors that will affect the planning of a meal. Basically, there are many factors that can be considered to make your meal planning be effective. Because without considering these factors, your meal planning might not be effective. So one of the factors that affect meal planning is nutritional adequacy. Nutritional adequacy meaning that all the family members, it ensure that all the family members' nutritional requirements are fulfilled. So you see, for example, as I said the other time, that in a group or in a family, we have various groups. So, and each family, they have nutritional requirements, whereby you will find that it becomes a problem when you want to fulfill each and every member's requirement. Those who need a lot of proteins, those who need maybe a little proteins, those who need a lot of starch. So you find that is a problem. So it is a factor that affects the members. And another example that I might give, that, for example, we know that little children or young children, they need a lot of protein. A pregnant mother or a lactating mother or woman needs a calcium. So now, while preparing a meal, you will need to include food items from various food groups. That is energy, proteins, fats, and so on and so forth. And this might be a challenge. Number two, we have age. Age. Age is also a factor that affects meal planning, because normally people eat according to their age. You see, and if you are a meal planner, you must observe the age of the family or the group that you are feeding. So, for example, even in our families, you must have observed that the diet of various members of different age group differs in quantity. As I said, that there are people who need very little amount of proteins, and others need very little, a big amount of protein. Others need a large amount of starch. Others need a very little amount of starch. So you find that it varies. For example, a newborn baby, how much milk will you give this newborn baby? Will only need some little amount. And this will also will not be the same as the amount of milk that a teenager or adolescent person will require. You will have now to increase the amount of milk that this teenager will require. Similarly, old person eat less food, and also that they prefer soft and easy to digest food. So that is how age will affect meal planning. Next is economic consideration. Economic consideration. We may require meals of different food groups, but what dictates a lot is the available money to be spent on food. So economic consideration is a major requirement. Like, for example, you find that food like milk, cheese, meat, fruits, nut, etc. are so expensive. However, alternative sources like toned milk, seasonal fruits and vegetables are less costly, and therefore you can prefer them than the ones that are expensive. Next is time, energy, and skill consideration. Now, time, energy, and skill consideration, meaning that we must need to know how much time a food will take when being prepared. Does it need how much energy does it need? The skill, does it need any skill? Because there are some foods that need professionals. There are some foods that need a lot of time. So you find that while planning the meals, you will have to consider resources like that, the time, skills, and the energies that is available. So, because there are some meals that are so much elaborate, so you need to know how much time they will have to take. The next is sex. Now, sex is, we have either a male or a female. So this is another factors that determine the dietary intake. Dietary requirements of adolescents and adult males are more than their female counterparts. So what simply we are saying that in a group of males and female, you will find that males do take a larger amount of food than the female. So if you have that kind of group, you need to consider that. So it is a factor that will affect the planning. Next is we have physical activity, the kind of work. Physical activity meaning the kind of work and amount of food that they take. The kind of work will affect or will determine the amount of food that one will require. For example, someone who is doing a construction work will need a larger amount or a big amount of food than as compared to the person who is also working in an office. Similarly, a person who is working in a construction site will need a lot of energy-giving food, that is carbohydrate and starch, while a person who works in the office will need a very small amount of energy-giving food, that is. This is in order to help them perform their duties. Next is seasonal availability. Seasonal availability affects meal planning because there are some foods that you might put in the meal plan and yet they are not within the seasons. So it becomes so hard, and sometimes they become so expensive when they are not in the season. For example, you find that in a given season, we might have a lot of mango, for example, that is. And in another season, they are not there. And so if you have them in your meal plan, then you have to go at an extra cost. So that is why we are saying that the off-season foods are more expensive and less nutritious, because we are saying that they are less nutritious because there are some foods that they are put into the refrigerator to be preserved for future use. And once the food is stored in a refrigerator, then they tend to lose their nutrients very fast. Next is religion. Religion, culture patterns, and traditional customs. This means that religion factors influence meal planning. For example, if you are an Indian, we know very well that Indians normally they don't take meat, and most cases they normally consume a lot of wheat, while there are others who will consume only fish. Similarly, we have, for example, those who are Islamics. They don't take pork. They don't take pork. So that tells you that while you are planning your meal, you must also look at the religion, the culture, and even the traditions of a given group. They are when you look at some religions like SDS, most of them, they do not take meat. So if you have a group like that, you will have to know what now to include in your meal plan. If you look at Catholics, yes, they take meat, but at some points, there are some days that they don't take meat. Like, I don't know, I think Wednesdays or Fridays, they don't take meat. And there are certain times, again, when they have, they don't take such kind of food. So if you have such people, you will have now to look at your meal plan well. Next is a variety of color and texture. Variety of color and texture. Remember that the color and textures affect meal plannings because people of different kinds will not be pleased with the same color or the same. They will prefer. Different people prefer different colors, different textures. Also, because remember, this makes the food to be most appealing. So you find that while you are preparing, you are having a meal plan, you will also have to consider this so that you are those who are consuming the meal to have the appealing meals so that they can also be able to enjoy the meal. So this means that when we talk about variety of texture and color, this means that when you are preparing a meal plan, you will have also to consider methods of cooking so that you have varied texture and varied colors. Next is likes and dislikes of individual. Now, the food you serve should cater for the likes and dislikes of the family members, which means you don't just prepare and cook food just for the sake of it. You must know in a family how many take meals with milk, so that you don't include milk in a meal if there is a family that doesn't like milk. And also you should know how many like milk. So if you realize that a family do not like a certain ingredients in a meal, then you will have to do away with that ingredients. So that tells you that you need to look at your meal plan and ensure that each and every family, each and every member needs is catered for. Let us look at the food pyramid. The food pyramid. Now, what is food pyramid and why is it beneficial in meal planning? Let us look at that. So, a food pyramid is a diagram developed by nutrition experts all over the world to illustrate the balance of food needed for a healthy lifestyle. It is a diagram that nutrition experts have come up with so that can be able to illustrate the balance of food needed for a healthy lifestyle. Now, it serves as a nutritional guideline in wisely choosing food to obtain the best balance of nutrients in the diet. So that tells that the pyramid, the food pyramids, it helps as a guide as a meal planner, if you use a meal pyramid will help you as a guide. And even those who are consuming food, if you're checking meal pyramid, will tell you which food should you choose so that you will have that healthy eating. You are saying that the major food groups are placed in the food pyramid with indicators of healthy eating habit in terms of what food must eat, what food one must eat. So, as I said, that a pyramid is a diagram that indicates the kind of food that is needed in terms of what should you eat most, what should you eat least, and what should you eat moderately. So, it is categorized into food groups. So, as I said, that the foods are categorized into food groups. We have what to be eaten least. So, eat least food. These are high in fats, sugar, salts, and alcohol. So, you find that this category is on the top of the food pyramid. So, that tells you that foods that are much of the fats, sugar, and salts should be taken least. So, if you are taking sugar, make sure that you only take a little amount of it in food. If you are taking salt, just put a little amount of it because they are dangerous to your health. 2, we have eat moderately food. Eat moderately food, these are foods with high protein content, but which have high fat level, e.g. pork, beef, chicken, and eggs. They are normally placed in the middle of the food pyramid. So, you eat them moderately. Yes, we need to eat meat, but we should not eat them excessively. We need to take them moderately as guided by the food pyramid, because some of them, they have, when we remember meat, they have fat. So if we take them in a large amount, then we are going to have excess fat in our body. So we need to take them moderately. And lastly, the one that should be eaten most, eat most food. These are foods which are high in fiber and low in fat and sugar. So these are like fruits and vegetables. So this is how the food pyramid will help you. These are placed at the bottom of the food pyramid. So these are the foods that you need to take, or to advise someone to take at a larger amount, because they do not contain a lot of fats. They contain low fat, low sugar. So take a lot of them. So you find that a larger proportion of these foods in the diet will help us to control weight and reduce the fat level in the blood. If you are taking a lot of vegetables, if you are taking a lot of fruits, then you will find that the body weight will reduce, and even the fat level in the blood will reduce, and that one will help you to reduce a lot of problems with the health, your health. Next is that these are also foods which make up the base of the pyramid and should be the biggest parts of the layers. As I said, that they are less in fats, they are also less in sugar and all that. So if you are making, you are preparing food, make sure that they take the larger part of the diet. Next is that we are saying that the foods are to be chosen from all levels, from all the 3 levels in promotion zone, to make sure that there is good balance of nutrients and variety in the diet. As I said that you don't ignore all of them. What we are saying that you only have to know the ones that should be eaten least, the one that should be eaten moderately, and the one that should be eaten in a large amount. So, but remember, you have to select all of them so that your food is well balanced. You can see the food pyramid, as I said, that the bottom we have eat less food, that is fats, oil, salt, and sweets. Then the next one we have eat moderately, that is meat, poultry, fish, eggs, and all that. We have eat more, we have fruits and vegetables. Then eat most, we have grains and cereals. Benefits of the food pyramids. Benefits of the food pyramids. So, why should we use food pyramids? 1. Food pyramids help us to improve our eating habits. It helps us improve our eating habits. So, what we are saying is that not only the food pyramid can help you get started on the healthy diet, but it can also makes it easy for you to stick to it and build some good healthy eating habits. As we said, if you are using the pyramid, food pyramid, and you know that salt we only use very little, so we will get used to that, and every time you are having a meal, you will ensure that you stick to your guide, that salt is only very little in your food, sugar very little, and other things. If it is a fatty food, very little. You will now get used to it. So food pyramid will always guide you. Next is that next we have it can also be used as a guide to help you eat better. So we are saying that when eating healthy, it is advisable to use a guide so that you can consume everything in the right proportion instead of shoving them down as you see fit. So if you use that guide, as we said, the guide will now give you even the amount of food, the amount that you need to eat per meal. It is called ADR. ADR meaning required allowance of food, that is the ones that is required for you to eat. Also, find that the reason why food pyramid is actually the perfect guide you can go with is that aside from the fact that it has visually attractive design, as the ones that we've seen, you see how it is designed. Actually, it looks so attractive when you are following it. Then next is that it can also be used as daily reminder. Daily reminder. You see, you can also use the pyramid as the planning, as the timetable for food preparation, or meal preparation, that is. So if you are using it as a timetable, which means it will remind you that, salt, whatever you are consuming, if, for instance, you are preparing food that needs salt, it will remind you salt need to be only added a little amount of it. If you are using sugar, it will remind you that sugar need only to be taken in a little amount, and any other food that you are using. So it will always remind you of the healthy eating. So you need to make sure that you use food pyramid in order to guide you in your daily consumption of food. It also gives you some variety. So I said that variety is important because Yani, when you see, when you look at variety, meaning that you will have to, food with one color, food with one method of cooking. If you find that each and every food is boiled, then you become bored. So, but if you use the food guide, then you will be able now to come up with a variety. The guide, the pyramid, will show you that now it is important that you use the variety. So you will come up with a different color, you come up with a different methods of cooking, and so on and so forth. So your food or your meal will become attractive. Also, it is easy to understand. As we saw, it is not hard. Anybody can understand food pyramid from top to bottom, where you are told the food that can be eaten least, the one that are moderate, the one that can be eaten mostly, and the one that can be eaten in excess. So that is what you need to look at. Food pyramid is important. And that is the end of our lesson 1. Thank you very much.
These televised lectures supplement our robust online learning going on our MKU online platform. You can view more on our televised lectures via our online platform. We are in a digital era, and Mount Kenya University knows this. The following are the steps to follow so as to complete your online application. Download the application form from the website www.mku.ac.ke. Attach copies of your academic certificates and ID. Pay the application fees via M-Pesa pay bill number 270988. Your ID is the account number. 2,000 shillings is the charge for a postgraduate. You can also deposit in the bank accounts provided on the website. Then email all the above to apply@mku.ac.ke.